1, 2, 3, 4. That's much better. Much better. So I'm in. The sound is fine. Nothing wrong, I believe, at my end. How's that for everybody else who's managed to jump across? Do I sound okay now? Are we back to normal? Just give me a yes if it sounds okay and everything's okay. Hello? Sound is much better. Great. I don't know what happened there. I went into the back. As soon as I switched on, I clicked onto Clive, which beautiful Clive's here. Well, welcome everybody. Hopefully Clive will jump in now within the next few minutes, and hopefully we'll have Dominic from Sheep Farm as well, which is a great combination of spiritual health from Clive with all the understanding of his amazing journey of life, his very successful business too. So Clive's here now at stream 1, 2, 3, 4. I should sound better now.
Perfect.
Oh, that's so good. So welcome, Clive, to the live show, Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you back. I gave a shout out to the 3 people that I know who are kind of experts, you and Don Tolman. Don said he would have loved to have been on here with you to speak with you as well. But unfortunately, the time difference to where he is, he just couldn't make it. So sorry about that, Don. But we have the beautiful Clive here. And hopefully, Clive, you also know somebody who was a friend of mine from the UK who I've known for many years. And that's Dominic from Sheep Farm, Dominic Waterson.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah, lovely guy. So I got a huge amount of messages from doing a live, Clive, a few weeks ago. And it was with regards to parasites, because more and more people are starting to sit up and take notice that maybe a lot of the roads lead to the same place, which could possibly be parasites. I've been working with clients for many years like you, and I've been noticing certain things with clients that eventually came back and said, yeah, I had parasites or I had these things. So it's great to be able to have you on the show, and maybe you can give us some valuable knowledge and wisdom at the same time, point us in the direction of what you have created without going too deep into that. But if you've got products that you can suggest and share the products that you've created, so we can put links on there afterwards to help people along their journey. And Dominic's here as well. So, hey, Dom, bless you. Thank you for coming.
Hi, boys.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Dom. I know you've rushed to get here, and I really appreciate it. Yeah. You two know each other.
Yeah, we've done quite a few podcasts, haven't we, Clive?
Yeah. Mega successful. You know, Hollywood has been after Dom now for a while.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the new Kojak. Yeah.
No, Van Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel. Yeah.
Lovely having you on, Dom. It's great. So first of all, I'd like to just do a quick intro for some of our guests who don't know who you are, but I think they all know who you are. But for people who may just come across this video, I'd rather give the mic to you, first of all, Clive, to maybe introduce yourself in what you do and why I asked you to come here with regards to parasites, so then they understand who you are. Would you be able to give us just a breakdown?
Sure. I was in ophthalmic optics and healthy, fit, everything was great. I used to get colds every year, flu or something, but apart from that, I was just healthy as anything. And then I took an antibiotic for no particular reason, stupidity. The next thing I know, I'm in hospital. I've become type 1 diabetic. I've got rheumatoid arthritis so bad that one morning I couldn't get out of bed anymore, couldn't get dressed. So I was in hospital. And after several weeks, they said, well, there's nothing we can do. You have to get used to it. Yeah, that's it, mate. And but I figured it out. I read books in hospital, and I realized that the antibiotics had damaged me, obviously. And so I got wheeled out in a wheelchair, changed my diet a little bit, but mainly took vitamins and minerals, and all the rheumatoid arthritis went away. Yes, I'm still type 1 diabetic, but I learned a big lesson about what doctors can and can't do. So then, 3 years later, my dad's best friend gets cancer for the second time, and he's told he's going to die. And he doesn't die because he rings Linus Pauling up, who he found in New York in the phone book. And he says, I'm told I'm going to die of cancer. What do I do? Linus Pauling said, take 35 grams of vitamin C in divided doses every day. And when my dad's best friend did finally die 20 years later, it wasn't from cancer.
Wow.
So I had two, if you like, wake-up calls. Well, hang on. Doctors don't appear to know what they're doing. But actually, our bodies know precisely what to do if we feed them the right stuff. Because if you feed the body the right stuff, then it's capable of detoxifying, becoming healthy. And if the body becomes healthy, then parasites don't want to live in it. You know, if somebody's got a fungal infection, well, what does fungus do as its primary thing? It digests dead and dying things, or dead things. So if bits of you are dying, then the body might even invite possibly a fungal infection in to help clear up the mess, you know, the cleanup crew. Then there's the idea that in some cases with heavy metal poisoning, toxic metal poisoning or toxic poisoning, there's an argument that the body will invite parasites in to the body because they can either recycle and detoxify the poisons or gobble them up, whatever. But if the body's hugely intelligent, which I believe it is, much more intelligent than doctors, then it may well be that everything is happening for a reason. There's no random, oh dear, this person suddenly caught some disease. Well, maybe that's not the case. I mean, just to come off parasites for a moment, let's say somebody's got really high blood pressure. Now, the doctors will look at you, whether you're 4'3" or 7'3", and basically say your numbers should be the same, the big person and the small person, the old person and the young person. And they say, oh, your blood pressure's too high. Well, they've been lowering the numbers for years. Each time they lower the numbers, get another 1 million clients or so. So what happens if you lower the blood pressure? Well, your numbers might look much more normal and you feel very happy because you've got normal numbers. But if you're a sumo wrestler or you're a 70-year-old granny, maybe your numbers shouldn't be normal. Maybe they should be low and high. So if you lower the blood pressure, well, you're obviously getting less white blood cells. You're getting less macrophages. You're getting less of all the repair functions. You're getting less minerals, less vitamins, less water to the brain and the eyes. Now, those things don't sound good to me. It sounds better that if the blood pressure gets raised, surely the body knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
Could it be that you're dehydrated? Could it be that your kidneys are having a problem, you know?
Yeah.
But the doctors just say, oh, your body's gone wrong. They don't analyze anything. So how often are parasites ignored? Well, even the World Health Organization admits that malaria, the malarial parasite, is one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem, health-wise on the planet. So in the old days, surely our ancestors would have gone through a deworming process for the animals and for the people. But before I found out you were doing this show on parasites, right here I've got some diatomaceous earth in water.
What's that? Explain what that is. I've got mine here. So what's yours? Tell us.
Okay. Diatomaceous earth, they say that millions of years ago there were these tiny little shell-like creatures called diatoms that were absolutely tiny. So you can go down to the beach in the south coast and with a shovel you can dig up millions of them.
Right.
And if you grind them up, they happen to be very fine and very sharp. So they're fine enough that they don't seem to bother us, but they do essentially rip parasites to shreds in a harmless way.
So it's like a jet wash inside the body.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. And do you sell that product? Do you have that product?
Funnily enough, I haven't been, but I just negotiated actually 2 days ago with my friend who's the expert on this and has been healing people with it for years to actually start. So in a couple of weeks, it will be on the website.
Brilliant.
Like all these things, you just want the best quality. And luckily, Diatomaceous says it's totally natural.
Brilliant.
So it's processed properly. It's inexpensive. And some people notice the difference right away, like in the same day or the next day. They feel different or, yeah.
Brilliant. Clive, thank you so much for that intro. Really interesting. There is an argument to say that many people come back at me and say, Mark, stop. We need to have parasites in our body. And I'm sure that is the case. I'm sure it is. But I think my understanding thus far in life is everything in balance. So if we have parasites, then it shouldn't affect us. It shouldn't affect our balance, in my opinion. If we are affected very badly, then maybe we have too much inside. That's just my observation. But I've seen a lot of reaction on people when I've worked on them in an energetic way. And I would like to talk about that right at the very end. But I'd like to now bring in Dominic from Sheep Farm. But Dominic isn't just from Sheep Farm. Dominic has a very successful company now called Health Bunker. And it's basically alternative ozone treatment and all of these wonderful things that non-invasive and natural and I think they do fantastic work. And I think we need to look into it a lot more. But my main reason for having Dom on is because he is very keen on studying parasites because well, do you want to tell them how it started, Dom?
Well, thanks for that intro. Like Clive, we've all got a story, our own health journey, which generally gets us into these places or studying these areas. And mine was I was feeling horrible in the mid-2000s, and unknown to me, it was Lyme disease. Now, whatever Lyme disease might be, there is a syndrome there of all these different types of symptoms that add up and cause a multitude of problems within. And Lyme disease, without getting into the nitty gritty, is probably a parasite. I think it is a parasite anyway. That's my view, not a bacteria. Hence why antibiotics don't probably work on it. And because it's part of the spirochete family, which is a parasite anyway. So
can I just jump in 1 second? Because I know people are going to be thinking the same as me, right? How do you know? Is there a test that shows that somebody has Lyme disease? Is there that says, oh yes, you have Lyme disease because of ABC? Apparently,
but the NHS testing is dreadful at best. And they do it in two different tests. If you pass the first one, sort of, if you or fail, whichever way you want to look at it, if you pass it and say you've got Borrelia, then you go to a second one, which is shipped off to Porton Down, which is probably the place that caused it in first place. But I'm not going to go down that road because that's a different type of conversation.
We want this to stay on YouTube.
Yeah, and like Clive was saying, weekly, I've been doing because you've got to test on yourself. I know Clive does. You've got to make sure this stuff does what it says on the tin. And I stopped my ozone treatments last year and started doing massive doses of vitamin C IVs because I thought, right, I can do this stuff now. I want to know what it does. Does it clear things up? And the answer to that is yes, it does. We've got lots of people that come in, like Clive spoke to, like you do when you're doing clearing stuff. And the anecdotal evidence is clear that this stuff brings benefit to people. Ozone, vitamin C, magnesium, like Clive sells, and all his products. And that's on the face of it. We've got to be careful what we say on this platform, sadly, as Clive well knows that. So my journey is that I started healing myself with ozone, and ozone's a fantastic thing. And Clive understands ozone. He's used ozone himself, and we do ozone 10 pass therapy at the clinic, which is basically, you didn't want to do it, did you, Mark?
No, the reason why is because my partner is very much into health and well-being and takes the Don Tolman path, and that is you don't need to stick anything in your arm. And she's kind of like,
there are so many different journeys you can do to get to the same place. And
it's a personal journey for sure.
Going back to what you were saying about parasites, are they symbiotic? Are they harmful? It's the old terrain versus germ theory type conversation. I view it, and me and Clive spoke about this on podcasts, where they're both theories at the end of the day. If your terrain's crap, right, there's a higher chance of you going to be ill and feel terrible and have more chance of getting illnesses. That's a fact. Is that nobody can argue with that. But also, all bets are off because we are being genetically altered over a period of generations, and so the things that might have affected us a few years ago or might not have affected us will probably be different now. That's my view. And if bacteria is a problem, it's probably because we've been altered to make it a problem. Or the bacteria might have been altered to make it a problem. If they're spending billions bioweaponizing things to create issues, then that's all bets are off from that point onwards, surely. And parasites fall into that for me, because if a parasite's meant to be in the gut but it ends up in your brain, that's possibly a different. It shouldn't be there. Your body might be able to handle it in certain areas, for argument's sake. Like Clive was saying, it might well be the fire brigade coming in to solve something in your gut, and it's okay there. But when it becomes in your liver or in other areas, then it becomes an issue, possibly. And again, I'm hypothesizing here. I also think some people are more infested than others as well, and it affects different people as well.
So I want to get on to the next question. I'm going to ask you both the same question, if that's okay. It's a bit kind of repetitive, and it's not really a chat. It's just I want to get as much info out there from two in my opinion, experts.
I won't go that far.
Clive, what are the symptoms if you do have parasites? Yeah, Clive. You're on mute, Clive. You're on mute.
You sound much better with your volume on, Clive.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, just online before we finish there, last month I went out to Bavaria to go to a very unusual German medical clinic, and I had live blood work done. And the very first thing he said, "That's Lyme. Look, those parasites moving around there in your blood. That's Lyme." Now, this guy's been doing this for many years. And live blood, I've got several videos that I've met interviews that I've done with people doing live blood work. My God.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. It is fantastic. Incredible. Even one drop of blood as it's drying can tell you 100 things.
Yeah, 100, yeah. We're getting one of the nurses trained up on it at the moment, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and then the answer for that, or one of the many answers, because people like Dr. Klinghardt Institute, Dr. Klinghardt is arguably the expert on it. But one of the big ones is, and the name is a giveaway, wormwood, Artemisia. Right? Artemisia, wormwood is a traditional herb that our ancestors used over a vast area of Europe,
Cheers.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Wormwood.
Yeah. And, it used to be normal to do that. And of course now it's completely dropped out. But I mean, the other thing is bitters, herbal bitters. Some people would drink them with alcohol. All those bitter herbs, even things like rocket, wild garlic, loads of those green bitter herbs, dandelions, loads of those things are going to have anti-parasite qualities. But there are so many ways to do it. Turpentine, of course, is a favorite.
Wow.
You've just got to find one that works. I mean, if you've seen my wife fills the Instagram page up, and she's been putting my little collection on there of these anacondas that were coming out of me for 3 years.
Yeah, them anacondas. Quick question on that. There's also a debate on that where it's the gut lining.
It's not gut lining, that.
How do you separate the difference then? Is it actually moving? Can you see it moving, or is it dead? Or
no, they're dead because of the stuff that we were taking to get rid of them.
You can't you can't see like. Have you actually analysed?
Well, whatever it was, my symptoms went.
Yeah, I totally get it. But this is the somebody throwing the spanner in the works. That's not parasite, mate. That's your gut lining. And whatever it is, yes, but we need to be kind of sure that what we're saying is that they
I know people who have done it, and they've actually. There was one lady, Robin. I forget what she was called now. Her husband was her son was autistic, and he was passing these things out. Were coming out of him like confetti, and her husband was Robin Goff. She was called. Her husband was some sort of biologist or scientist.
Right.
And they kept them all and froze them and tested them. And they were testing not just whether they were a parasite, they were testing what were inside them. So the heavy metals, the other bacteria that were in there, they were finding Lyme inside. Because these things are like aircraft carriers. They carry all sorts of other things around with them and just depositing it here and there in your body. And so are some people worse than others? Yes. I mean, maybe I were a worse case than other people. Maybe people with Lyme disease are worse, or things like that are worse. Maybe people who work on farms are worse, or mess with animals. Who knows? But certainly, we've just started doing hydrotherapy at the clinic, colonic hydrotherapy, and we're videoing these things coming out of people.
Wow.
So, is it the gut lining? No, that's my because I've seen people who have tested them.
I'm glad you've cleared that up. Clive's just gone for a second, probably gone for a pee. I don't know, but anyway, listen.
Gone for a pint. Yeah.
Symptoms. Can you reel off some symptoms, because we diverse straight away? I'd like to, because if people are sat here, they're going, okay, well, how do I know if I've got, it's good to give them some indication, not that it's 100% correct. These are just some of the symptoms that I've written down from my clients over the years. And I'm wondering if you have any symptoms that might think, you know what, this could be a possibility that you've got parasites.
Another problem with symptoms are, right?
Yeah.
And there's some unique ones probably that come with parasites.
Right.
But there's only so many symptoms of anything, isn't there? And so most illnesses, especially what we were going through, me and my wife with Lyme, was... and some people have Lyme in different sort of varies of degrees of how bad it is. But I can only speak from my own experience on this. I can't speak as I don't want to speak as some kind of expert, but only on my experience. But you get little tapping in your legs, and your legs can go numb. Your calves can go numb, or they can feel heavy, or
numb. I'll write that down, guys, because it's here already. So I'm taking off the list, because that's one of the things that I've got here from clients. I mean, the legs that they go numb. So that's interesting.
Digestive issues are obviously a big thing. Arthritis type pains, shoulder pains, and things like that, because these things lay their eggs in muscle cells. Really, obviously, because it's high levels of nutrients in there, and they're called nurse cells. And so they're called nurse cells for a reason, because they're like little incubators where they incubate these things, and they become like cysts. So we were passing these things as well. So anyway, that's another story.
Interesting. So can I ask you that kind of pain that you're talking about, what may be in the shoulder, could it be misdiagnosed as a muscle issue? And if that is the case, could it be that if you go for a massage, that you can actually massage move
these things around? You can, but a lot of things are multi-layered, I found as well. So it could be dietary issues that you become. So you could have an illness that you've got several reasons why it's causing that problem. One of them could be parasites. Another could be, I don't know, broccoli, for argument's sake. Another could be some air freshener you've got in the house. It could be several things that are causing a similar one, and it's difficult to say that one thing is the only cause of it. But digestive issues, joint pain, headaches, foggy head, that type of stuff. I mean, Clive's Dementia Surf as well. That's really good stuff. Works on the garden as well, doesn't it, Clive? That stuff. Yeah, gets rid of slugs.
I've got a cat who's desperate to be fed. It's been staring me out.
You go feed and then come back. Whatever works. I'm just going to reel off some of these for my listeners because they'd be really interested to know. So some of the symptoms over the years that I've written down over the years, and I've gone to some of my old files and picked out. Fog brain is one of them. I think you just said that, Dom. Depression.
Yeah, mental issues. Yeah.
Fatigue, lack of energy, motivation. ADHD sometimes can have them kind of symptoms. So if you're, it's crazy, really. Addictions, in this case of what you intake with foods, drinks,
volatility, things like
drugs,
that. Yeah.
And things as silly as mobile phone. Bipolar is another thing that some of my clients said they were diagnosed with, and then they did a parasite cleanse, and all of a sudden that went down to practically nothing, and they started living a very balanced life. These are one-offs, by the way. They're not all consistent, like the thousands. Weak immune system. That is normally an indication that I found with my clients that they had some kind of issue in the body.
Well, the one thing, I mean, the word of parasite means it's living off you and draining you, basically. So they're taking all your nutrients from you. So, and if you've got digestive issues to start with, you're not digesting your food properly, so you're not getting the nutrients out of it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So allergies, reactions to things like seeds. One of the classic is papaya seed. If you crush that or juice it, you could get a terrible stomach or feel sick. That's another thing. And papaya seeds, by the way, on off a side note, I think are absolutely fantastic. That's just my opinion. Migraines, which are fairly constant. That's been something that I was looking at, where I believe that maybe parasites are in the brain. Self-sabotage is another one. Going back to old patterns. Struggle with sleep, struggling with meditation, relaxation, concentration, bad reactions to what you either rub on your skin or digest. Energy healing is another one. These are just a few things. Clive, do you want to just jump in there if anything you agree or disagree with, or anything that you could add to it?
Well, a symptom that children sometimes report is an itchy bottom, which is a sign of worms. So a lot of parents might recognize that. Hopefully they don't, but they might. There are things you can do for parasites that are interesting. I mean, one of them is a laser on the wrist, or any type of frequency device on the wrist, because the wrist has got the blood flow going the closest. And the device behind me, the Tesla device, or just simple red lasers, will wipe out many types of parasite.
Amazing.
We've got a red laser wristwatch on my website. It's about 250 quid or something, and you can just wear it. It's a bit big, but you can wear it half an hour a day.
Amazing, brilliant. Okay, then we're going to step into that then, shall we? Let's step into the things that help us. And Clive's just mentioned one thing. Dom, what kind of things that you would suggest in your health bunker if people came and you thought maybe they had parasites, or they thought they had parasites? What would you recommend?
Well, changing your diet to start with. That's an important one. Getting a handle on your diet and eating clean food.
Can you
which is always well, it's difficult to suggest, because it's quite a personal thing, and also if you're eating loads of processed not rubbish, then you're obviously going to be asking for questions. Really, obviously, fresh veg, fresh fruits, meats, etc. Some people will be vegan, but fish, that's just clean food, or as clean as you can make it that you can get it.
I used to have a fish and chip shop, and the guy who came over to teach me how to cut and fry fish when I had a fish and chip shop was called Cyril Watts. and he had a very famous place back in the 70s and 80s, Cyril Watts. And I paid him a lot of money, and I remember started cutting cod, and there's these black little things in there, and he flicks it out like that. He says, "You want to get rid of these?" I says, "Why? What are them?" He said, "They're worms." And I said, what are they doing in there? And he says, it's not really that important, because once the temperature of your fat gets over 100 degrees, it kills the worm. And later in life, when I spoke to people like many experts, even with a piece of, this has been recorded in laboratories and tested, even with a piece of pork, which is one of the worst culprits, if you get a flamethrower on that piece of pork, even a flamethrower for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the parasites will still be alive. So it made me understand that parasites are a little bit like cockroaches that can withstand a nuclear blast. So
very much so.
But there is an argument. There's two arguments. Don Tolman says, look, don't eat fish, don't eat meat, and you're okay. But actually, that's not altogether true, because you can get parasites from your feet, on the soil,
from an apple,
cat pee. Cat pee is one which is really interesting. That I find that cat pee. That's why
there's a fantastic book. There's a fantastic book called "Your Brain on Parasites" by a lady called Catherine or Kathleen, something. Anyway, Your Brain on Parasites, really interesting book. That is, she wrote that a number of years ago, showing how it affects schizophrenia. And there's a parasite from a cat that I think it's a toxoplasma that induces. So cats won't look at rat urine rats look at cat urine as a safe place to go, as opposed to the other way around. So it increases your risk taking. Yeah, going back to what you were saying about mental problems. So in humans, it increases risk taking.
Wow. Clive, what do you say about that? What's your knowledge on that?
Well, yeah, the toxoplasmosis that Dom's talking about, they did research on the brains of dead young men who died in motorcycle accidents. Turns out that the majority of them had this recklessness, risk-taking parasite or whatever it was, bacteria, whatever it was in the brain. And, it makes rats and mice so brave that they just walk right up to the cat and aren't scared of them. And it transmits to humans. Crazy.
That is really interesting, eh, Dom?
Oh yeah, it is. And obviously, a lot of these things now, whether there is a barrier in your brain, the blood-brain barrier, people are always arguing about the blood, but certainly there must be some, like the placenta was thought of as a barrier from the outside world and the child. They found out in the mid-2000s that wasn't true. The Environmental Working Group, or whatever they were called, a group of scientists, worked out there were 280 or 250 toxic chemicals getting into, or up to that, getting into children while they were in the womb. So
you knew that about smoking, right? Drinking. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if you're a big smoker or drinker, it's going to affect your child.
I mean, it comes back to the Flexner thing as well, where in the Flexner report, going back and back and back, when they started ripping up the medical and rewriting the medical journals and things like that, being sponsored by the Rockefellers and what have you, there's nowhere in there in these reports about parasites. They talk about bacteria, talk about viruses, and talk about all these other things, but they won't talk. There's no mention of parasites being an issue. And certainly, if you go to a doctor, they won't say you might have a parasite problem. It's one of the only ones that won't say that about.
And isn't it funny that we had?
I think I've gone off piece there. Sorry, Matt.
3 years ago, we had something that they basically shut out of everybody's conversation, and that was for horses. Isn't that? Yeah, I mean, you could see the fight for anybody mentioning that. Anybody who dared mention that was shut out, shut down, and that is that should have been a big wake-up call for every single human being on planet Earth. Hey, it's just for horses. Yeah. Yeah, of course it was me. Clive once, I interviewed Clive once, and he said, if you walk into a zoo and all the animals are sick, the first thing the zoo whoever who comes to check is going to say, "What have you fed them all? What have they all eaten?" And that was such a powerful statement, such a powerful thing that it stuck with me, Clive, and I use that quite a lot. And I always refer to you on that. What do you say about that, Clive?
Well, at the end of the day, while the World Health Organization might say malaria is the biggest parasite problem, they're totally wrong.
Tony Blair.
Well, no, government in general.
No, I'm joking. Tony Blair's biggest parasite problem.
Yeah, he's just one of many, isn't he? Governments are the world's greatest parasite. They are the only real problem in the world, actually. If you're talking about parasites. Yeah. So, can I ask you a question about clean food? You mentioned clean food. So, yes. For most people, I would suggest that clean food means you bought your burger and now you sprayed it with antiseptic spray, sanitizer. That is clean food. I think I'm right.
Yeah.
On the papaya seed thing, I'm not quite sure whether it was clear, but of course, papaya seeds are anti-parasite. So if somebody feels ill after papaya seeds, that's because they've killed too many parasites.
Exactly.
So yeah, papaya seed and vinegar taste quite nice, oddly.
Really brilliant.
Yes.
So the first question was, what was the symptoms? The second question I've got here, what to avoid eating. Have we talked about that? Processed foods?
Processed foods, 100%. Yeah, processed foods, 100%.
About sugar?
Fruit juice being a really good example of a very serious parasite feeding processed food.
I mean, there is another thing, and I know Clive sells these on his website, but it's not that. But filtration of your water. I mean, parasites being found in just tap water. If they're found in your cat, they're going to be found in the tap water. So, okay. And not just one or two parasites either.
Good. What would you recommend?
Different types.
What would you recommend as a clear way of drinking water? I mean, all of these things cost, of course they do. But do you think also that spring water will hold parasites?
Hopefully not, because spring water should have come up through layers and layers and layers of soil and whatever material. And my view is that when spring water defies gravity by coming up at you, it's telling you it's ready to drink.
It makes sense. That totally makes sense. One thing that I
always
had
its own filtration system as well, hasn't it?
The one thing that I used to do, guys, I don't know if this was, I mean, John Tolman talks about when you actually use the machine where the water is distillation. Yeah. He always suggests to put the water in sunlight because there's a natural process. After so many minutes, it brings back certain, I don't know whether it's nutrients or whatever it is, but it was tested. He talks about he often talks about his granddad, who was best friends with Einstein, and they used to work together. And these things, he's got all this information. So he believes that the sunlight with distilled water, there's a natural process that takes place that brings back everything that's been taken out. I don't know whether that's real or not, but I always, no matter what water I drink, spring water, I put it into direct sunlight, and it just feels right to me. I don't know. What do you think to that, Clive?
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to. I'm very happy to put anything in sunlight to power it up. I don't know the physics, the chemistry of that.
No, me neither. But
certainly there's going to be some natural frequencies. But also, I mean, within water, you've got your normal essential mineral type in there, but also you've got the trace minerals, the stuff that Clive sells in the drops, where there's 70 trace minerals. Then you got the stealth minerals as well, the stuff that that Don's probably waking up while he's putting his water in the sun after distilling it. The issue with distilling it is you're taking everything out.
Exactly.
And, well, everything that you can that's active at that particular moment. And so adding more minerals to it, like Clive's droppers of 70 trace minerals, is essential to distilled water, because otherwise you're just drinking, I suppose people call it dead water. I don't know whether that's true or not, but certainly.
Yeah, I'm not so
And
sure.
also, Clive's minerals is another detox way. Those 70 essential minerals are binders and things like that. So if you are killing parasites off, they help your body flush these things out in a more comfortable way.
Brilliant. On a side note, Clive and Dom, what do you think?
Should be selling your products, Clive.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Just for the benefit of people who want to rush out and buy 100 bottles, it's called Fulvic, Fulvic, Fulvic minerals.
Brilliant. Thanks. On a side note, guys, what's your thoughts on food grade? Why is that gone off?
You look better like that.
No, that just went off. Peroxide. Food grade peroxide. Sorry, guys, my mic just went blind because I just read somebody's message there and thought, oh, interesting. So, food grade peroxide. What's your thoughts about being a distraction or something that may help with parasites? Any suggestions?
It certainly cleared an ear infection or two up for me.
Yeah, that's
in your ear and it fizzes away.
Yeah, that I think most people know that, but I'm just thinking about the body temple itself, inside the whole body. If you are creating this, I don't know, is it a kind of like are you oxygenating the body with food grade? Do you know that, guys? Anybody?
Clive? Ozone creates. Sorry, Clive, go on. I'll jump.
No, wait. You're more into the oxygenation thing than I am, but
yeah, please go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, go on. Tell me about it.
Well, ozone creates hydrogen peroxide in the body. The hydrogen peroxide is your natural defense mechanism. So, or one of them anyway. And so, as soon as if you put all ozone into the colon, so for argument's sake, somebody comes for some hydrotherapy at the clinic, after they've had the hydrotherapy, the colon cleanse, we'll put ozone in there. And that turns to, as soon as it hits the insides of the intestine, it turns to hydrogen peroxide.
Brilliant.
More or less, according to Schallenberger, more or less instantaneously. Whether that's true or not, because if you put enough in and it comes back out, you can still smell ozone. But yeah, and likewise with the blood, and again, like Clive's products and ozone. I mean, together, all these things work in synergy as well. So, because ozone makes everything more bioavailable because it cleans the blood. When you see ozonated blood prior and after ozonation, there's a massive difference to it, and you can see it in the bottle where it becomes a pinky color, a lot lighter color, and you see that in people's eyes. Their eyes go, the whites of their eyes go white, and the colors come out of their eyes, and that's purely because they've been oxygenated. Anyway, I'm not just selling ozone there, but what I'm trying to say is that's a process of turning to hydrogen peroxide in your system.
Brilliant.
Which over time we've been modified not to do that. That's why immunity is crap.
Yes, exactly. And one of the things, on a side note, guys, that I recommend and I learned from Don Tolman is fasting. Fasting, it's amazing when you do the work with Don. He makes sure you look at your stool and look inside, and it's amazing what you can find in there when you're on a fast. I don't recommend everybody fasting, just doing it. You need to have, in my humble opinion, you definitely need to have people encouraging you. You need sunlight. You need certain things that I believe that complement water fasting. But you can start by doing, a day water fast, something like that. But if you're thinking about doing a 24 days or 14 days, you know what? You need to be with people who know exactly what they're doing, taking care of you. And so that's just on a side note. But before we move on, I just want to say, I've written down a few things, if you don't mind me saying, to what I've worked with that have helped. I know you guys probably don't think about it or even understand this, because it's like crystals. And the only reason why I know, because my clients wore these and it helped. And there was only 2 particular crystals that I found worked really well. And one of them was called, I'll spell it for you guys. It's SONORA, Sonora. And it really is a very powerful crystal that goes towards the blood, and it somehow clears the blood, whatever's in that crystal. It's got a frequency of clearing the blood, and it's made a massive difference to a lot of my clients who had parasites. And the second one is it's called hematite. And hematite is again, it's just something in that has a great cleansing body effect in the blood. So here's some of the things that my clients have sent me messages over the years and said actually work, as well as Don Tolman. Coffee, believe it or not. Coconut, believe it or not. Eating grated carrots, believe it or not. These are some of the things. Oregano, garlic, grapefruit seed extract, mugwort, wormwood. Sage is a good cleaner. False yellowhead, hard to get, Mediterranean. I'm still working on it. Black walnut, daisy flower. I think that's just another name. Sage, Palo Santo, irritates people with parasites. I found that a lot. Sound vibration is a well, you've mentioned that. You mentioned vibration, laser vibration. Sound vibration is another thing. Natural oils rubbed on the skin is absolutely fantastic, but you need to do some research on that. Funnily enough, energy healing caused a lot of uncomfort to people with parasites, especially massive headaches, spasms, physical pains. What helps? Sea salt in baths, waterfalls. A lot of my clients said that they felt a lot better by waterfalls. And I think once I talked to Dom about this, I think that is is it like Mother Earth's way of?
Well, Clive will explain what waterfalls and
oh, good.
what they produce. Yeah.
Oh, great, Clive. Please tell us.
When water smashes against rocks, it creates ozone, which is what you smell by the seaside. It's why doctors used to say, take the sea air, it's good for you, right? You're breathing in iodine from the decaying seaweed and ozone. So I wanted to add with the ozone thing, with oxidants like hydrogen peroxide, like cannabis, like ozone, you want to take them away from an antioxidant. So let's say you might want to take some vitamin C in the morning, but you might want to do MMS, chlorine dioxide, would be a good example of another pro-oxidant. You want to do them at other ends of the day.
Brilliant. Any recommendations on a night that you would suggest to people? A lot of people, one of the things that a lot of people said is that they suffer with their sleep, massive issues with not just nightmares, but night terrors. And it's fascinating. So my suggestion is try to meditate on a night. And I think by meditation, your whole body goes down into a form of de-stress. And I think if you're stressed, your body creates some kind of chemical that stimulates not only the reaction for you to go and do something stupid like eat the crap foods or whatever it is, take the wrong things, but I just think, you know, finding some sort of peace in your life to calm down and to master your own thoughts, master the addiction thoughts is one way, which is a natural way to heal yourself without things. What do you say, Clive?
Well, it's interesting to look at what different cultures do. I mean, this is one that everybody knows, right? What do the Japanese do as an anti-parasite when they eat raw fish, right? Sushi, sashimi. They eat ginger.
Ginger. Yeah.
Comes with, and there's a real reason why they do that, because it kills the worms in the fish.
Fantastic. So brilliant. Dom, is there any golden nuggets of truth that you might want to share?
There's so many ways. I mean, from turpentine to black walnut. There's so many ways.
How would you use turpentine, guys?
I've never done turpentine, so I can't. And also
Clive?
MMS as well. That's meant to be really good as well.
How do you use turpentine? Just on a side note, somebody's asked that earlier on.
The first thing is to make sure it's real gum spirits turpentine, not turpentine substitute. It's got to be the real thing. Artists demand it for oil painting, so they can't take it away from us. Because they would if they could. Turpentine is from the pine tree, and the pine tree is incredibly healing in many, many ways, And it was first explained to me by a medical doctor, Dr. Jennifer Daniels, and she worked in the Black Ghetto in New York as a medical doctor. And within 1 year she came out of Harvard and Wharton, big schools. And within a year of medical practice, she realized that it was terrible and she couldn't carry on giving drugs, and started offering natural practice until she had to leave the country as a terrorist. Anyway, she's a black lady, and all her clients in this ghetto, as she describes it, were black. And they used to say that the slaves back in the day had some magic medicine that white man didn't know about. Yeah. And that if the slave owner was at death's door and the medical doctors had given up, they'd go down to the slave quarters and beg for the voodoo medicine to be healed with. And of course, so she heard the story so many times, she was desperate, but nobody knew what it was. They knew it existed. Anyway, finally she found out it was turpentine. And obviously the slaves had no money, so they couldn't buy something. So it had to be, she realized, something natural. So you can get essential oils, you can get all sorts of things from pine trees. And so they realized this was a wonderful medicine. So from a viewpoint of parasites, number one, study it first. Do not use any material that's super strong, like wormwood or anything really, but turpentine, without really knowing what you're doing, because you need to be ready for what's going to happen.
Brilliant.
And you want to make sure your bowels are working properly. It would really be good to know if your liver was working properly.
Yeah.
Now, you can rub turpentine in, right? It'll go, as many things do, like your shampoo, go straight into the bloodstream. And so that's one way to do it. You can take it internally, and the idea is to take it as a Trojan horse. So what you do is you get, let's say, a spoonful of sugar, which you soak in turpentine and swallow it. And the parasites are attracted to the sugar, but get wiped out by the turpentine.
A bit like borax with ants. And there's a drip with borax, sugar together on the drip. The ants come and take a little bit and take it back to their main place, and then they all die. Fantastic. On a side note, everybody, you should be all smiling now. What did I do a couple of years ago? I channeled with a lot of you the awakening oil. And what was it? I saw the Buddha's head. What was the Buddha's head? It was a pine cone. It was a representation of the pineal gland. And then I said, we are going to get pine, fresh pine, natural pine from Spain. And that is in the awakening oil, guys. Isn't that fantastic? How Clive's just said that. Isn't that beautiful? Not only does it work on a level of spirituality, it works on a level of physical. It's incredible how these things just all come together in the end. It's like so exciting. So yeah, that's brilliant. On a side note, I've got to say that I'm winding down from selling wormwood and mugwort. And the reason why is we've sold over 3,500 bags. And out of 3,500 bags, I've had three people who had, let's say, I call it a detox. You're detoxing, and they had physical pain in their stomach, or bad headaches. And you know what? For me, it's like if somebody feels like I've hurt them by saying try this and this is what I've been doing. Not only did I take it for the first 3 months, but I gave my teas to over 60 people who are friends, and everybody has said after taking those teas, they were like a different person. However, there's always going to be one person that has, let's say, not such a good terrain, as Dom says. And when
also,
yeah,
Mark, certain people, people say to me, what's it going to take to get well? And I'm sure that's a magic question Clive's had. And different people are not destined to go down that road because they can't stick to. They'll get put off by a bit of gut. If I stopped every time I got a bit of gut rot from some of the treatments, then I knew when I were getting done. Even my wife said, "You're getting a done." That these parasites were going to come out. They're on the way. It was basically like an exorcism, and so
yes.
you sometimes you have. Now, like Clive says, you have got to study these things. You can't just listen to us three and go out and do loads of whatever we've talked about. Clive studied this stuff. You know, I researched this stuff as well, like you have. You know, and you can't just go out and do it. It's not as simple as that.
Well,
I remember taking vitamin C first time, right? And I thought to myself, right, how much of this do I take? I've read Dr. Levy's book and all this, and he's taking, and Linus Pauling, and you can take 35 grams. I'm thinking, how much do I take? And so you build it up, and first time you take a bit too much or a lot too much, you know about it. So you get a level of it, but you do it in bits. You take little bits and see where measure your stages.
It's brilliant, Dom. The problem with humanity is that we've been so trained to run to the doctor. We've been so trained to not have that kind of issue. And if there is any issue, blame can sometimes come to you. Blame, it's your fault. It's why didn't you tell me this? And it's like, so I can see why it's so difficult being in the field of work where you're selling something that goes internal. Yeah. And I realize that now, how you know,
I try not to sell it. That's the thing. I try to allow people to, most people come to us have done their own research on ozone and realise they're not getting anywhere with the NHS, for argument's sake, or vitamin C. And because it is difficult to try and sell something like that without coming across as I don't know, a salesman, if you like. And that was my old self. So it's difficult for me not to do it as well. Because I know what it does for people. I know you don't. I know
that anymore. I tell you why, because if something works, it works.
It does work, yeah.
I've got thousands of testimonials of people say it changed their life with taking.
I've taken wormwood, Mark, and I've seen Parasites come out, so I know it works.
Yeah, exactly.
And black walnut and all these things.
But the thing is, Clive probably knows this. It only takes one bloody person. So you can have 1,000 people who can have an amazing reaction to cleanse and clearing. Oh yeah, they might have a headache, they might have gut ache, but they got through it because they know that this is the process, the cleansing process. But it only takes one person to ruin a business where you internally, sell something that goes inside. So I think, for me, I've created such a good business that a good business model that I don't want to kill it by the sake of selling just some teas that I don't need to sell.
Exactly.
Do you understand that, Clive?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that way, Clive, sometimes?
Well, it seems to me that if somebody gets a bad reaction, if they're doing a parasite cleanse, they're going too fast. If it's too much, too many dead parasites isn't fun. So you cut down, do it much more gently, much more slowly.
Brilliant. What more can you say? That there is, so I remember Don. I wish Don was here. One of the things that he used to do was it was a process of people who are allergic to certain fruits and vegetables or nuts, and it was a process where I'm not going to paraphrase it, but it was a case of smelling it for the first few weeks, putting it to your lips for the next few weeks, putting it on your tongue for the next few weeks, and then putting it in your mouth for a few weeks. And basically your body gets used to that food. And he has taken people through the process of that who had such bad reactions to no reactions at all. So what do you say to that, Clive? Do you think that's baloney, or do you think that's...
Sounds a great idea. I've not heard about that before, but it sounds eminently sensible if that's
Sounds
what you
feasible.
really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, everything that I've learned from Don is ancient Egyptian wisdom, basically, and that what's been burnt away from, I guess, Alexandria and stuff. And yeah, he's turned a lot of doctors into people who have become natural doctors, let's say, many hundreds and hundreds in his lifetime. But like you, Clive, you're a legend, a living legend, and Dom and me, we're just battling through it all.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to say, Clive, at the end? I'll put the links up to your website. Of course, I will. Of course, this is about parasites only. I mean, we could diverse to talk about anything. But if somebody sat with you now and they had parasites, what would you, within 2 or 3 minutes, what would you say to them as comfort?
There's the classic book by Hulda Clark, I think The Cure for All Diseases, which is cloves, black walnut, and wormwood. The idea being that if you take it for about 6 to 12 weeks, you're going to kill not only the adult, but you're going to kill the larva form and the egg.
Brilliant.
If you don't hit the 3 stages, you've not really hit it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hulda Clark, apart from using those 3 materials, used frequency devices. So easy you can build them yourself with a 9-volt battery and a few bits and pieces.
Brilliant.
Build for virtual pennies. So that's one way to go. I think Dom's colon cleanse idea is an important thing, or can be. Then I think to make sure you're getting rid of the toxic debris, non-activated charcoal, real charcoal, MSM sulfur, I think could be a useful material to move things out.
Brilliant.
Lots of water.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fulvic minerals and magnesium just to make you feel better while you're doing it.
Brilliant. Fantastic, Clive. That is amazing.
Another one would probably be iodine, because not much can survive iodine. So if your thyroid is replete with iodine, then I would have thought that would wipe out. There'd be certain more delicate parasites that just couldn't handle it, because most of the blood goes through the thyroid every, whatever it is, 20 minutes or something.
Brilliant. Dom, any last things that you want to say?
One of the issues is testing for parasites. It's a difficult one to test. Like Clive said, the live blood test is a fantastic way. And sometimes I think you can see the surface type parasites within the blood there, not the ones buried into your skin. So if you can do stool tests, for argument's sake, but we were negative on all these tests. And I ended up shifting thousands of parasites from the liver flukes, all different colors, white, black, the blood flukes, the big, like I say, anaconda things that probably stretch the length of the bath, the cysts. So even all the testing that were done were total, I could say it's total waste, because the only time I ever saw parasites were this lady in Halifax, bless her, she's not with us anymore, but she used to do the live blood testing, and she showed it me on a screen, which freaked me out going back 10 years ago or so. And so the testing's not, you've just got to take some of these things and start looking down the toilet. I know it sounds a bit gross, but we've also talked about things that may well be that you have parasites. So you need to listen to your body. You need to look at your actions through the day. You've got to look at your everything that you're. I think the ancient kings used to have people following them, looking in the poo. They used to have specialists.
I wish Don was here. He'd be able to tell you some stories like that. Yeah. But you're absolutely
looking in the king's poo to see what.
Show us that. Tell us what that is. That's a parasite cleanse. What's in that? Yeah,
pretty much everything, actually.
Brilliant.
Pretty much every herb you could think of. Many of the things we've discussed. But I've sent off this from the States because somebody told me that in one day they noticed a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I want to create a parasite cleanse material, so I haven't got one.
Mhm.
And this one is a very nice formula. So yeah, it's
Brilliant.
called humor worm.
Human worm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Fantastic. Well, just on a side note, guys, if you're making any kind of teas, my suggestion from a few hundred tea experts, healing tea experts, boil the tea for 20 minutes, drink that, then boil the same tea for another 20 minutes, drink that, and then for the third time, boil the tea again and drink that. And the reasoning behind that is that to get into the center of, say, the stem, which might be mixed in, it takes some time to get right inside, like you would boil I don't know, something hard like a potato. How long? You boil it for 5 minutes, you'll only go so far in. So there is some amazing people out there who talk about teas and how to boil them. So I really believe that this is coming from a healer in Serbia, where we picked our beautiful herbs from. The thing to watch that I found that I upped my dose a little bit was 97% moonlight. So it's really 3% just before the moon is full. When it's full, it's not as much. So, and on a side note, if you have your hair cut and you want it to grow longer, have it cut on, like Dominic, have it cut on 97%, right? If you have it cut on 100%, it'll grow faster, but it'll grow slower. Is that right? Oh shit! Shut up, Mark. Anyway, 3 times.
Hey, Mark, one thing I would say is I remember going to Egypt a few years ago, and there was a guy there making tea.
Yeah.
And he was there for hours making this tea.
Yes.
Dressed in all the traditional dress, just making this tea for hours, brewing this tea. Like it were a green tea you were making. But
so true. It's
lovely as well.
It wasn't that. It's an art to these people for sure. Also, on a side note, in fact, we should be nearly wrapping it up now. I'll put all the links for Dominic's clinic and for Clive's website, so you can. And I've got to tell you guys, I've had nothing but amazing messages about Clive's products. I'll tell you that as a fact. That is an absolute 100% fact. There may be a little bit more money, but if you want the real stuff, just like Don Tolman, you ain't going to get the real stuff cheap. It costs to get to hunt and to find natural organic products. And these guys get the right stuff, that I know. If you have got parasites, let's say this, guys, okay? This is a journey. It's not a race. Like Clive said, it's not a race. This is a journey. And the journey can take a long time. I spoke to David Avocado Wolf and asked him a question once live. And I said, how long does it take to clear parasites from the brain? And he said, a long time. So this is a way of life. So do it as if it's a way of life. And the more that leave you, the more healthier you become. So it's a beautiful process. Anything to say, anything to add to that, Clive?
What cropped into my mind is Dr. Klinghardt and Lyme disease. He reckons that the tea Cistus incarnus, which is actually a type of rock rose, he says that's his was saying that's his number one recommendation for Lyme sufferers.
Wow. Did you know that, Dom?
No. Again, there's so many different routes. I followed a lot of Klinghart's protocols back in the day, and some of them worked for us, some of them didn't. But there again, we were doing stuff that he weren't doing. I'm not saying we've got it right, but just worked for us.
But
and
don't you think
a lot of the herbs and things worked. Pardon?
But don't you think, Dom, that a lot of parasites are different? So what it's like healing. I can share healing to somebody, give healing to somebody, and my energy is completely different to the next person. And what I heal on one person, the other person heals on the other. So I kind of feel that we've all got different parasites, different issues inside us. So
well, again, like a battlefield, you've got different stages. You've got when the war's raging, and then when it's finished and you're clearing the debris away, then you've got the damage to sort out, and you're at different stages all the time. And so, and when you're chronically ill, you're clearing up different parts, you know, and obviously autoimmune disease is like an internal civil war. So it's creating damage. So sometimes you don't know whether it's the damage that's a problem or that it's still the parasite. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, the invasion. It's either the invasion or the after effects. Yeah, the aftermath. Absolutely amazing. Just are you all right to stay on? I said it was from to 10:30 with 15 minutes. If you want to go, please, you're okay to go, Clive or Dom. But I'll maybe answer a couple of questions while we're here. I think we've given quite a lot. I think we've tackled quite a lot in this conversation. I think it's one of the best I've heard thus far. So if anybody's got a question, please ask now. Okay. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us. A lot of you guys already know about this. A lot. You guys know probably more than us. That's amazing. Well, do you know what? I think it's
a lot of people are well educated.
I think they
study it like we do. You know, they know about vitamin C. We're sort of preaching to the converted a lot of the times, and but we all find little nuances that we don't know. Like Clive's mentioned a few stuff. I might have mentioned a few stuff. You will have, and just things you've forgotten about or in the past, or you know, that you just get. I remember that now.
You're absolutely right, Dom. Listen, guys, it's been a pleasure. And it was such a short notice, but you know me, I go on like an inspiration. We should get everybody together, and it's been such a pleasure having Clive on. It's always lovely seeing you smile, Clive. You're always in my heart. You're an amazing soul, and your work will live on forevermore. Dom, we're just troopers, Yorkshire lads who are cracking on and wading through all of this madness. But I'm always, I've got to say, Dom, I'm proud of you. You know, you've come so far. You know, you're an amazing guy. So thank you to you both. And I'm wishing you all love, every success, but not in predominantly the business way, of happiness and health and well-being. And I also want to say to everybody else, thank you for being here. I hope this has made a little bit of a difference in your life. And even if you take one golden nugget of truth, then we've done our job tonight. So from myself and the amazing Clive de Klerk and Dom Waterson, have a great night, guys. And I wish you well.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Yeah, take care, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers. See you later, Clive. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah. See you soon. We'll do it again. We'll do it
catch
again
up soon. Yeah.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.